There are animals on our planet that seem to defy the rules of life itself. Some survive in the most extreme heat, some endure freezing cold, and some even thrive without food for astonishing lengths of time. But among these survivors, there is one creature that breaks the most fundamental expectation we have about fish. When its watery home disappears, when rivers dry into cracked mud, when lakes vanish into dust, it doesn't die. It doesn't wither away. It endures. For not just hours or days, but for months. This creature is the lungfish, and its story is one of the most incredible tales of survival in the natural world. Imagine standing on the edge of an African river during the dry season. The once mighty flow is reduced to scattered puddles. The air smells of dust and decay. Around you, fish that could not escape are scattered like lifeless husks, their gills collapsed, their bodies baked in the sun. Yet hidden beneath the earth, buried deep in the hardened mud, another fish waits silently. Not dead. Not alive in the usual sense. Suspended between the two states. Waiting for rain. Waiting for water. The lungfish has evolved a survival strategy that seems almost supernatural. It can retreat into the ground, encase itself in a cocoon of its own making, and slow its body to a crawl until the world becomes livable again. To understand how, we need to dive into the history, biology, and strange powers of this remarkable animal. The first records of the lungfish come not from scientists, but from the people who lived alongside it. For generations, communities in Africa told stories about fish that could disappear during droughts and reappear with the rains. Farmers swore that when they dug into dried riverbeds, they sometimes uncovered wriggling creatures trapped inside hardened shells. At first glance, such tales seem like folklore or exaggeration. But these legends contain truth. In the 1800s, European explorers traveling through Africa encountered the phenomenon themselves. They broke apart dried clumps of earth and found living fish sealed within mucus cocoons. For naturalists of the time, this discovery was shocking. The very idea of a fish surviving without water contradicted everything they knew about biology. And yet, here it was real, undeniable, alive. The lungfish is no ordinary species. It is what scientists call a living fossil. Its lineage stretches back more than 400 million years, long before the first dinosaurs walked the earth. In fact, lungfish belong to a group of creatures that helped pioneer the transition from water to land. They are evolutionary bridges, carrying traits of both fish and early land animals. What makes them so extraordinary is their anatomy. Like most fish, lungfish have gills. But unlike most fish, they also have lungs, real lungs that function much like ours. These lungs allow them to breathe air directly. In normal times, when rivers and lakes are full, lungfish rely on their gills. But when drought approaches, they switch to air breathing, surfacing to gulp oxygen just as a mammal might. Breathing air is only the first step in their survival plan. The true miracle happens when water completely vanishes. As the mud begins to harden, the lungfish burrows downward. It twists and pushes itself into the soil, deeper and deeper, until it is safely below the surface. Then, it begins to secrete a special mucus that hardens around its body. This secretion forms a cocoon, a protective casing with only a small opening left near the mouth to allow air exchange. Inside this cocoon, the lungfish undergoes an astonishing transformation. Its metabolism slows to a fraction of its normal rate. Its heartbeat decreases. Its bodily functions enter a state of dormancy known as estivation, a type of suspended animation similar to hibernation in mammals. In this state, the fish can survive without food, without fresh water, and without movement for months. What is even more astonishing is how efficient this system is. During estivation, the lungfish reuses nitrogenous waste produced by its own body to create proteins. In other words, it recycles itself, ensuring that precious resources are not wasted. This adaptation allows it to endure the harshest dry seasons, waiting patiently for the return of the rains. When the rains finally do come, the hardened earth begins to soften. Water seeps back into the dried riverbeds and swamps. The cocoon dissolves, and the lungfish awakens from its suspended state. It wriggles free, swims once again, and resumes its normal life as if nothing happened. For scientists, the lungfish is more than just a curiosity. It is a window into the deep history of life on Earth. By studying this animal, researchers gain clues about how the first vertebrates managed to transition from aquatic to terrestrial environments. The presence of lungs in a fish provides direct evidence that air-breathing adaptations existed long before true amphibians appeared. But the lungfish is not alone in its strange survival strategies. In other parts of the world, different fish have evolved their own methods for coping with dry conditions. The walking catfish of Asia, for instance, can move across land to find new water sources. The mudskipper, found in Africa and Asia, spends much of its life out of water, using modified fins to crawl on land and even climb. Yet none of these creatures can match the sheer endurance of the lungfish, which can last not days, but entire seasons, trapped underground. To this day, lungfish remain a source of fascination and mystery. There are 6 known species alive in the world, 4 in Africa, 1 in South America, and 1 in Australia. Each has its own unique traits, but all share the remarkable ability to breathe air and survive in conditions that would kill almost any other fish. Their resilience raises questions about what other secrets life on Earth might hold. How many other creatures, hidden in remote corners of the planet, have evolved abilities that seem to defy biology? Could studying these animals reveal new ways for humans to cope with extreme environments? Could the lungfish hold clues about suspended animation, organ preservation, or even the possibility of surviving long journeys beyond Earth? What is certain is that the lungfish is no ordinary creature. It is a survivor from another age, an evolutionary relic that has watched the rise and fall of species for hundreds of millions of years. It has endured ice ages, mass extinctions, and the shifting of continents. And through it all, it has kept its secret, the ability to survive without water for months at a time. This is not just a story about a fish. It is a story about resilience, about adaptation, and about the endless creativity of evolution. The lungfish's survival may sound like a myth, but science has revealed the astonishing details behind this adaptation. To truly understand it, we need to look at the inner workings of its body and the extraordinary strategies it uses when trapped in dry earth. The most critical piece of the puzzle is its lungs. Most fish rely entirely on gills to extract oxygen from water. Gills are fragile structures, made to absorb dissolved oxygen, but they collapse and fail when exposed to air. That is why most fish suffocate within minutes outside of water. The lungfish, however, possesses a completely different respiratory system. Inside its body are elongated sacs, true lungs, connected directly to the esophagus. These are not primitive versions of gills but rather organs more similar to those of land animals. When the water level drops and oxygen becomes scarce, the lungfish rises to the surface and gulps air. It can do this repeatedly, drawing oxygen straight into its bloodstream. This means that even in stagnant pools with little oxygen, or in completely dry conditions, the lungfish is never cut off from what it needs most. Breathing air is only one part of the story. Survival for months without food and water requires more than just oxygen. The lungfish accomplishes this through a state called estivation. Estivation is like hibernation, but instead of being triggered by cold, it is triggered by heat and drought. In this state, the animal reduces nearly every function of its body to the bare minimum. Its heart slows dramatically, sometimes beating less than once every few seconds. Its digestive system shuts down entirely, conserving energy. The immune system changes, focusing only on basic survival. Even the brain enters a state of low activity, almost as if the fish is asleep. From the outside, the animal appears lifeless. But inside, it is clinging to existence in a perfectly balanced state of suspended animation. One of the most fascinating aspects of estivation is how the lungfish manages waste. Normally, animals excrete nitrogen as ammonia or urea, which must be diluted with water to avoid poisoning the body. But during estivation, water is not available. To solve this, the lungfish turns waste into a harmless compound that it stores within its tissues, recycling nitrogen into proteins. It is a built-in recycling system that prevents toxic buildup and allows survival in a closed environment. This ability to recycle itself has amazed scientists. It demonstrates not only adaptation to drought but also a kind of metabolic flexibility that could inspire human medicine. If we could learn to trigger similar processes in people, we might discover new ways to protect organs during surgery, preserve tissues for transplantation, or even slow aging. The protective cocoon that the lungfish builds is another marvel. As it burrows into the mud, it secretes mucus from its skin. This mucus dries and hardens into a leathery shell that covers the entire body except for a tiny opening near the mouth. Through this opening, the fish continues to breathe air while sealed underground. The cocoon prevents the fish from losing moisture and shields it from bacteria and parasites. It is a survival suit, crafted entirely by the animal itself. Researchers have conducted experiments to test just how long lungfish can remain in this state. In controlled studies, African lungfish have been kept in dry conditions for more than 4 years and then revived simply by reintroducing water. Astonishingly, they swam again, ate again, and lived as if nothing unusual had happened. Such endurance is almost without equal in the animal kingdom. The Australian lungfish, though closely related, is slightly different. Unlike its African and South American cousins, it does not undergo long periods of estivation. Instead, it lives in more stable rivers and lakes, relying on its lungs for survival during short oxygen shortages but never sealing itself in mud for months. This suggests that the extreme survival strategy of estivation evolved in places where seasonal droughts were common and life demanded harsher solutions. What makes this even more intriguing is the age of these creatures. Fossil evidence shows that lungfish ancestors were already alive more than 400 million years ago, during the Devonian period. At that time, Earth's ecosystems were very different, and the first vertebrates were beginning to explore life on land. Some scientists believe the lungs of the lungfish represent an evolutionary stepping stone, the kind of adaptation that made it possible for early animals to leave water permanently. If this is true, then every mammal, bird, reptile, and amphibian alive today owes part of its existence to the same kind of adaptation that lungfish still carry. The lungs that keep us alive may have first appeared in ancient fish like these. That makes the lungfish not just a strange survivor but a key to understanding our own evolutionary story. Beyond their biology, lungfish also play an important role in the ecosystems where they live. In Africa, they survive in floodplains that alternate between wet and dry seasons. During wet periods, they emerge from hiding, feed on snails, insects, small fish, and even plant matter, helping to control populations and recycle nutrients. In South America, the lepidosiren lungfish plays a similar role in swampy regions of the Amazon. These fish are living reminders that resilience often comes with ecological importance. For local communities, the lungfish has practical significance too. In some regions, people rely on it as a food source. Hunters dig into the mud during the dry season, searching for dormant lungfish to roast and eat. While this may sound grim, it highlights just how dependable the lungfish is as a resource. Even when everything else in the river has died, the lungfish waits underground, ready to be found. The lungfish also inspires cultural stories. In parts of Africa, it has been called a resurrection fish, symbolizing renewal and survival. To those who witness its ability to vanish and reappear with the rains, it is nothing short of miraculous. But behind the miracle is hard science. A perfect combination of lungs, mucus, estivation, and metabolic recycling makes this fish one of the greatest survivors on Earth. And every detail of this process teaches us something new about the possibilities of life. If a fish can slow itself almost to death, recycle its own body, and wait years in silence for water to return, what else might be possible? Could humans ever unlock similar abilities? Could this be a clue for surviving in extreme environments on Earth and beyond? The lungfish may be the champion of surviving without water, but it is not entirely alone in its bizarre adaptations. Nature, through millions of years of evolution, has given several fish remarkable abilities to endure where others would perish. To appreciate just how strange the lungfish is, we can look at a few of its unusual companions in the animal kingdom. One of the most famous is the mudskipper. Found in Africa and Asia, mudskippers are fish that spend much of their lives on land. They crawl across muddy flats using their strong pectoral fins, climb mangrove roots, and even leap short distances. Unlike most fish, they can breathe through their skin and the lining of their mouth and throat, as long as those surfaces stay moist. They keep their gills wet by storing water in special chambers, almost like carrying a backpack filled with oxygen. While mudskippers cannot survive entirely without moisture, they push the definition of what it means to be a fish. Watching one crawl across the mud feels like watching evolution unfold before your eyes. Then there is the walking catfish of Asia. As its name suggests, this species can travel across land, wriggling and twisting its way from one body of water to another. It can breathe air, thanks to a modified structure near its gills, and it uses its strong muscles to propel itself forward. In parts of Thailand and India, these catfish are known to leave drying ponds at night, crawling across damp ground in search of new habitats. Farmers sometimes wake up to find fish flopping across their rice fields. It is an eerie sight, as if the rivers themselves are spilling their creatures onto the land. An even stranger case is the climbing perch, a small fish found in Southeast Asia. This creature not only breathes air but is reported to survive for days out of water, provided it remains moist. Incredibly, it has been seen clambering up the trunks of palm trees, its spiny fins giving it purchase on the bark. It is hardy enough to be transported in baskets for long distances, and some fishermen deliberately keep it alive this way to sell fresh at markets. Yet, compared to the lungfish, even these remarkable fish are limited. The mudskipper needs moisture, the walking catfish cannot last for months, and the climbing perch still depends on finding new water relatively quickly. The lungfish stands apart as the undisputed master of endurance, capable of sealing itself away and surviving in a barren world until conditions improve. The existence of such creatures has not only fascinated scientists but also sparked myths and legends among local communities. In Africa, the lungfish has often been associated with cycles of death and rebirth. Its ability to vanish during drought and reappear with rain made it a symbol of resurrection, a living metaphor for the seasons of plenty and scarcity. Some cultures believed it carried spiritual power, representing the promise of life returning after hardship. In South America, where the lepidosiren lungfish lives in swampy regions of the Amazon, similar stories arose. Fishermen who encountered this strange fish, with its eel-like body and its habit of burrowing into mud, described it as a creature caught between worlds, not fully a fish, not yet something else. To them, it embodied mystery, a reminder that nature holds secrets far beyond human understanding. The scientific community, too, has been humbled by this animal. When early researchers first discovered lungfish estivating underground, they were stunned. For decades, debates raged about whether the animal could truly survive for such long periods without food or water. Experiments confirmed what seemed impossible: lungfish could endure not just months, but years, encased in dried mud, waiting for life to return. This discovery challenged the way scientists thought about survival. It showed that life could adapt to extremes in ways far stranger than expected. The lungfish became a model for studying metabolic slowdown, resilience, and the limits of biology. Some researchers have even asked whether studying lungfish could help us explore beyond Earth. If a simple fish can suspend itself for years, could humans one day use similar strategies for long space journeys? Could suspended animation, something we usually imagine only in science fiction, have roots in real biology, waiting to be unlocked? The lungfish doesn't answer these questions, but it proves that the boundary between life and death is more flexible than we might think. There is also an ecological lesson here. As climate shift and droughts become more severe in parts of the world, the strategies of creatures like the lungfish become more relevant. These animals are living blueprints of resilience, showing us how life finds a way even when the environment becomes hostile. Protecting them is not just about saving one species, it is about preserving ancient knowledge encoded in their bodies. The lungfish is a reminder that evolution does not always erase the past. Sometimes, it preserves it. For over 400 million years, through the rise and fall of countless other species, the lungfish has carried its unique survival strategy forward. It lived through mass extinctions, shifting continents, and changing climates. It watched the dinosaurs rise and fall. It endured ice ages and the appearance of humans. And still, today, it burrows into the mud, cocooning itself against the dry season, waiting patiently for rain. Think about that for a moment. While empires have risen and collapsed, while civilizations have flourished and disappeared, while humanity has gone from stone tools to space travel, the lungfish has quietly continued its ancient ritual. To find one sealed underground is to touch a fragment of prehistory, a living echo of a time when the Earth was young. Other animals inspire us with their strength, their speed, or their beauty. The lungfish inspires us with something else entirely: endurance. It represents the quiet power of persistence. Not dramatic battles or dazzling displays, but the simple, stubborn refusal to die when the odds say it should. Perhaps that is why the lungfish feels so haunting. It forces us to ask what survival really means. Is it the strongest who endure? The fastest? Or is it those who adapt in unexpected ways, those who find a strategy so unusual that it defies the ordinary rules of life? The lungfish is proof that survival is not about perfection, but about flexibility. It is about finding a way to hold on, even when the world collapses around you. In a cracked, empty riverbed, where everything else has perished, the lungfish still waits. And when the first drops of rain return, when the ground softens, when the world comes back to life, the lungfish emerges. A creature that should not exist. A fish that breaks the rules. A survivor from another age. The fish that can live without water for months.